May our Father, Messiah, and Holy Spirit with us. We almost done. Yeah. We almost done, man. Now I see why Satan keeps trying to tell me I don't have no storage on my phone. Keep having to delete stuff. That's why Father willing, one of the first things I'm gonna buy is some Wi-Fi in this joint. King Belshazzar gave a great banquet for his 1,000 nobles, and in the presence of the 1,000 he drank wine. Under the influence of the wine, Belshazzar ordered the gold and silver vessels that his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple at Jerusalem to be brought, so that the king and his nobles, his consorts, and his concubines could drink from them. The golden vessels that had been taken out of the sanctuary of the house of Elohim in Jerusalem were then brought, and the king, his nobles, his consorts, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the mighty ones of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Just then, the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace opposite the lampstand, so that the king could see the hand as it wrote. The king's face darkened, and his thoughts alarmed him. The joints of his loins were loosened, and his knees knocked together. The king called loudly for the exorcists, Chaldeans, and diviners to be brought. The king addressed the wise men of Babylon. See, his knees. You see, they talking about who's scared. This guy was scared. The king Belshazzar. Look what happened to him. After our father, it says, just then the fingers of the human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace opposite the lampstand, so that the king could see the hand as it wrote. The king's face darkened, and his thoughts alarmed him. The joints of his loins were loosened, and his knees knocked together. He was shook. The king called loudly, definitely not our boy, who the whole book is named after, would never fold like that. The king, because he knows who our Father in heaven is. The king called loudly for the exorcists, Chaldeans, and diviners to be brought. The king addressed the wise men of Babylon. Whoever can read this writing and tell me its meaning shall be clothed in purple and wear a golden chain on his neck, and shall rule as one of three in the kingdom. Then all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing or make known its meaning to the king. King Belshazzar grew exceedingly alarmed, and his face darkened, and his nobles were dismayed. Because of the state of the king and his nobles, the queen came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke up and said, "O king, live forever. Let your thoughts not alarm you or your face darken. There is a man in your kingdom who has the spirit of the holy gods in him. In your father's time, illumination, understanding, and wisdom like that of the gods were to be found in him. And your father, King Nebuchadnezzar, appointed him chief of the magicians, exorcists, Chaldeans, and diviners. Seeing that there is to be found in Daniel, whom the king called Belteshazzar, extraordinary spirit, knowledge, and understanding to interpret dreams, to explain riddles, and solve problems, let Daniel not be called to tell the meaning of the writing." Daniel was then brought before the king. The king addressed Daniel, "You are Daniel, one of the exiles of Jehudah, whom my father, the king, brought from Jehudah. I have heard about you. I have heard about you that you have the spirit of the gods in you, and the illumination, knowledge, and extraordinary wisdom are to be found in you. Now, the wise men and exorcists have been brought before me to read this writing and to make known its meaning to me, but they could not tell me what it meant. I have heard about you that you can give interpretations and solve problems. Now, if you can read the writing and make known its meaning to me, you shall be clothed in purple and wear a golden chain on your neck, and rule as one of the three in the kingdom." Then Daniel said in reply to the king, "You may keep your gifts for yourself and give your presents to others, but I will read the writing for the king and make its meaning known to him. O king, the Most High Elohim bestowed kingship, grandeur, glory, and majesty upon your father Nebuchadnezzar, and because of the grandeur that he bestowed upon him, all the peoples and nations of every language trembled in fear of him. He put to death whom he hoped, and in whom he hoped he let live. He raised high whom he hoped, and whom he hoped he brought low. But when he grew haughty and willfully presumptuous, he was deposed from his royal throne, and his glory was removed from him. He was driven away from men, and his mind made like that of a beast. And his habitation was with wild donkeys. He was fed grass like cattle, and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven, until he came to know that the Most High Elohim is sovereign over the realm of man, and sets over it whom he hopes. But you, Belshazzar, his son, did not humble yourself, although you knew all of this. You exalted yourself against our Father in heaven, and had the vessels of his temple brought to you. You and your nobles, your consorts, and your concubines drank wine from them, and praised the mighty ones of silver and gold, bugging, bronze and iron, wood and stone, which you do not see, hear, or understand. A naked woman on a picture cannot see, hear, or understand. But the Elohim who controls your life breath and every move you make, him you did not glorify." You're tripping. He therefore made the hand appear and caused the writing to be inscribed. This is the writing that is inscribed: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharazim. And this is the meaning: Mene, Elohim has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. You're uneven, family. Get even. Perez, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then at Belshazzar's command, they clothed Daniel in purple, placed a golden chain on his neck, and proclaimed that he should rule as one of the three in the kingdom. That's what happens to a true prophet. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, and that's what happens to a false prophet. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. It pleased Darius to anoint over the kingdom 120 satraps to be in charge of the whole kingdom. Over them were 3 ministers, one of them Daniel, to whom these satraps reported in order that the king not be troubled. This man Daniel surpassed the other ministers and satraps by virtue of his extraordinary spirit, and the king considered setting him over the whole kingdom. The king considered setting him over the whole kingdom. And we just read about what happened to Mordecai. Yeah, it gets like that to a true prophet. The ministers and satraps look for some fault in Daniel's conduct in matters of state. You see, they're trying to look for a fault in you. The ministers and satraps look for some fault in Daniel's conduct. Look at this naked picture. Let's see if he folds to it. He'll have to go home and sin. Now he has to go home and run to his daddy, our Father in heaven. Why would I fold like that? I will never fold like that. The ministers and satraps look for some fault in Daniel's conduct in matters of state, but they could find neither fault nor corruption, inasmuch as he was trustworthy and no negligence or corruption was to be found in him. We're sturdy boys over here. Those men then said, we are not going to find any fault with this Daniel unless we find something against him in connection with the laws of his Elohim. Yeah, go read the laws, the 10 commandments that our Father in heaven wrote with his hand. Check the facts, family. Then these ministers and satraps came thronging into the king and said to him, O King Darius, live forever. All the ministers of the kingdom, the prefects, satraps, companions, and governors are in agreement that a royal ban should be issued under sanction of an oath, that whoever shall address a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, during the next 30 days shall be thrown into a lion's den. So issue the ban. Yeah, we'll see what happens to who got put into the lion's den and who threw him in the lion's den. So issue the ban, O king, and put it in writing so that it be unalterable as a law of the Medes and Persians that may not be abrogated. Thereupon King Darius put the ban in writing. See, they hating on our brother. The whole reason they did that is because they haters. When Daniel learned that it had been put in writing, he went to his house, in whose upper chamber he had went after he knew. Yeah, he knew what was going on. It didn't say he didn't know. It says after when Daniel learned that it had been in writing, so yeah, he knows what's going on. He went to his house, in whose upper chamber he had windows made facing Jerusalem, so he could see the city. And 3 times a day he knelt down, prayed, and made confession to his Elohim as he had always done. Then those men came thronging in and found Daniel petitioning his Elohim in supplication. They then approached the king and reminded him of the royal ban. Did you not put in writing a ban that whoever addresses a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, during the next 30 days shall be thrown into a lion's den? The king said in reply, the order stands firm as a law of the Medes and Persians that may not be abrogated. Thereupon they said to the king, Daniel, one of the exiles of Yehuda, pays no heed to you, O king, or to the ban that you put in writing. 3 times a day he offers his petitions to his Elohim, because he's a real guy. Upon hearing that, the king was very disturbed, and he set his heart upon saving Daniel. He set his heart upon saving Daniel, and until the sunset made every effort to rescue him. Then those men came thronging into the king and said to the king, know, O king, that it is a law of the Medes and Persians that any ban that the king issues under sanction of oath is unalterable. By the king's order, Daniel was then brought and thrown into the lion's den. It doesn't say that Daniel was shook up, scared, or fearful at all. By the king's order, Daniel was then brought and thrown into the lion's den. The king spoke to Daniel and said, your Elohim, whom you serve so regularly, will deliver you. A rock was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed it with the signet and with the signet of his nobles, so that nothing might be altered concerning Daniel. So we didn't hear a word from Daniel, because he's a sturdy boy. He was praying the whole time. The king then went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No diversions were brought to him, and his sleep fled from him. Then at the first light of dawn, the king arose and rushed to the lion's den. As he approached the den, he cried to Daniel in a mournful voice. The king said to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, was our Father in heaven, whom you serve so regularly, able to deliver you from the lions? Daniel then talked with the king, O king, live forever. My Elohim sent his angel. Look what he said. This guy's sturdy. He told the king live forever. He said, O king, live forever, talking to him. My Elohim sent his angel who shut the mouths of the lions so that they did not injure me. Inasmuch as I was found innocent by him, nor have I, O king, done you any injury. The king was very glad, and ordered Daniel to be brought up out of the den. Daniel was brought up out of the den, and no injury was found on him, for he had trusted in his Elohim. Then my order of the king, it's real. Then my order of the king, those men who had slandered Daniel were brought, and together with their children and wives were thrown into the lion's den. They got thrown into the lion's den. They had hardly reached the bottom of the den when the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. That's what happens to a false prophet. Then King Darius wrote to all peoples and nations of every language that inhabit the earth, may your well-being abound. I have hereby given an order that throughout my royal domain, men must tremble. May you hear this? Men must tremble in fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living Elohim, God who endures forever. His kingdom, bro, his kingdom is indestructible, and his dominion is to the end of time. And his time is already written about. He delivers and saves and performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. For he delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. Thus Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and during the reign of Cyrus the Persian. In the first year of King Belshazzar of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and a vision of his mind in bed. Afterward he wrote down the dream. Beginning the account, Daniel related the following. In my vision at night I saw the four winds of heaven stirring up the great sea. Four mighty beasts, different from each other, emerged from the sea. The first was like a lion, but had eagle's wings. As I looked on, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted off the ground and set on its feet like a man, and given the mind of a man. Then I saw a second different beast, which was like a bear, but raised on one side, and with three fangs in its mouth. Among its teeth it was told, arise, eat much meat. After that, as I looked on, there was another one, like a leopard, and it had on its back four wings like those of a bird. The beast had four heads, and dominion was given to it. After that, as I looked on in the night vision, there was a fourth beast, fearsome, dreadful, and very powerful, with great iron teeth that devoured and crushed and stamped the remains with its feet. It was different from all other beasts which had gone before it, and it had 10 horns. While I was gazing upon these horns, a new little horn sprouted up among them. Three of the older horns were uprooted to make room for it. There were eyes in its horns There were eyes in its horn like those of a man, and a mouth that spoke arrogantly. As I looked on, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His garments was like white snow. Thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His garment was like white snow, and the hair of his head was like lamb's wool. This is the Messiah. His throne was tongues of flame. Its wheels were blazing fire. A river of fire streamed forth before him. Thousands upon thousands served him. Amen. Myriads upon myriads attended him. Amen. The court sat and the books were open. Oh man, it's gonna get real. Hey, the books are gonna get open. This is something real, bro. I looked on. Then because of the arrogant words that the horn spoke, the beast was killed as I looked on. The beast was killed. Don't play, man. Its body was short and it was consigned to the flames. Like, porn is not gonna be in the kingdom of heaven. Why would I watch that now? I think I'm gonna do the things that I know is gonna be in the kingdom of heaven. Like love everybody. Like walk around with a sound mind. Be at peace. That's what I'm preparing myself for now. I pray whoever's looking at this, you do the same. The dominion of the other beasts was taken away, but an extension of life was given to them for a time and season. As I looked on in the night vision, one like a human being came with the clouds of heaven. He reached the Ancient of Days and was presented to him. Dominion, glory, and kingship were given to him. All peoples and nations of every language must serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall not pass away, and his kingship one that shall not be destroyed. As for me, Daniel, my spirit was disturbed within me, and the vision of my mind alarmed me. Now this was when Daniel's spirit was disturbed, because he had this vision, and the vision of his mind alarmed him. That doesn't say it was like, just you gotta listen to what it's talking about. I approached one of the attendants and asked him the true meaning of all of this. He gave me this interpretation of the matter. These great beasts, four in number, mean four kingdoms, will arise out of the earth, and then holy ones of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess the kingdom forever, forever, and ever. Then I wanted to ascertain the true meaning of the fourth beast, which was different from them all, very fearsome, with teeth of iron, claws of bronze that devoured and crushed and stamped the remains, and of the 10 horns on his head, and of the new one that sprouted to make room, for which 3 fell, the horn that had eyes and a mouth that spoke arrogantly, and which was more conspicuous than its fellows. Facts. I mean, I looked on as that horn made war with the holy ones and overcame them until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was rendered in favor of the holy ones of the Most High. For the time had come and the holy ones took possession of the kingdom. This is what he said. The fourth beast means there will be a fourth kingdom upon the earth, which will be different from all the kingdoms. It will devour the whole earth, tread it down, and crush it. And the 10 horns mean from that kingdom 10 kings will arise, and after them another will arise. He will be different from the former ones and will bring low 3 kings. He will speak words against the Most High and will harass the holy ones of the Most High. He will think of changing times and laws, and they will be delivered into his power for a time, times and a half a time. Then the court will sit and his dominion will be taken away, to be destroyed and abolished for all time. The kingship and dominion and grandeur belonging to all the kingdoms under heaven will be given to the people of the holy ones of the Most High. Their kingdom shall be an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey them. Here the account ends. I, Daniel, was very alarmed by my thoughts, and my face darkened, and I could not put the matter out of my mind. In the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me. To me, Daniel, after the one that had appeared to me earlier, I saw in the vision at the time. I saw it was in the fortress of Shushan, in the province of Elam. I saw in the vision that I was beside the Ulai River. I looked and saw a ram standing between me and the river. He had 2 horns. The horns were high, with one higher than the other, and a higher sprouting last. I saw the ram butting westward, northward, and southward. No beast could withstand him, and there was none to deliver from his power. He did as he pleased and grew great. As I looked on, a he-goat came from the west, passing over the entire earth without touching the ground. The goat had a conspicuous horn on its forehead. He came up to the 2-horned ram that I had seen standing between me and the river and charged at him with furious force. I saw him reach the ram and rage at him. He struck the ram and broke his 2 horns, and the ram was powerless to withstand him. He threw him to the ground and trampled him, and there was none to deliver the ram from his power. Then the he-goat grew very great, but at the peak of his power, his big horn was broken. In its place, 4 conspicuous horns sprouted toward the 4 winds of heaven. From one of them emerged a small horn, which extended itself greatly toward the south, toward the east, and toward the beautiful land. It grew as high as the host of heaven, and it hurled some stars of the heavenly host to the ground and trampled them. It vaunted itself against the very chief of the host. On its account, the regular offering was suspended, and its holy place was abandoned. An army was arrayed iniquitously against the regular offering. It hurled truth to the ground and prospered in what it did. Then I heard a holy being speaking, and another holy being said to whomever it was who was speaking, how long will what was seen in the vision last? The regular offering be forsaken because of transgression, the sanctuary be surrendered, and the heavenly host be trampled. He answered me, for 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. While I, Daniel, was seeing the vision and trying to understand it, there appeared before me one who looked like a man. I heard a human voice from the middle of Ulai calling out, Gabriel, make that man understand the vision. He came near to me. I was standing, and as he came, I was terrified and fell prostrate. He said to me, understand, O man, that the vision refers to the time of the end. When he spoke with me, I was overcome by a deep sleep as I lay prostrate on the ground. Then he touched me and made me stand up and said, I am going to inform you of what will happen when wrath is at an end, for it refers to the time appointed for the end. The 2-horned ram that you saw signifies the kings of Media and Persia, and the buck, the he-goat, the king of Greece, and a large horn on his forehead. That is the first king. One was broken, and 4 came in its stead. That means the 4 kingdoms will arise out of a nation. That means 4 kingdoms will arise out of a nation, but without its power. When their kingdoms are at an end, when the measure of transgression has been filled, then a king will arise, impudent, inverse, and intrigued. He will have great strength, but not through his own strength. He will be extraordinarily destructive. He will prosper in what he does and destroy the mighty and the people of holy ones. By his cunning, he will use deceit successfully. He will make great plans, will destroy many, taking them unawares, and will rise up against the chief of chiefs, but will be broken, not by human hands. What was said in the vision about evenings and mornings is true. Now you keep the vision a secret from it, for it pertains to far-off days. So I, Daniel, was stricken and languished many days. Then I arose and attended to the king's business, but I was dismayed by the vision, and no one could explain it. It's serious stuff. In the first year of Darius, son of Ahasuerus, a Median descent, who was made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, consulted the books concerning the number of years that, according to the word of our Father in heaven, that had come to Jeremiah the prophet, were to be the term of Jerusalem's desolation. 70 years I turned my face to our Father in heaven, Elohim, devoting myself to prayer. a supplication and fasting and sackcloth and ashes. I prayed to our Father in heaven, my Elohim, making confession thus, Our Father in heaven, great and awesome Elohim, who stays faithful to his covenant with those who love him and keep his commandments. Amen. We have sinned, we have gone astray, we have acted wickedly, we have been rebellious and have deviated from your commandments and your rules, and have not obeyed your servants, the prophets, who spoke in your name to our kings, our officers, our fathers, and all the people of the land. With you, O our Father in heaven, is the right, and the shame is on us to this very day. On the men of Jehudah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, all Israel near and far, and all the lands where you have banished them for the trespass they committed against you. The shame, O our Father in heaven, is on us, on our kings, our officers, and our fathers, because we have sinned against you. To our Father in heaven, our Elohim, belong mercy and forgiveness. For we rebelled against him and did not obey our Father in heaven, our Elohim, by following his teachings that he set before us through his servants, the prophets. All Israel has violated your teaching and gone astray, disobeying you, so the curse and the oath written in the teaching of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, have been poured down upon us, for we have sinned against him. He carried out the threat that he made against us and against our rulers who ruled us, to bring upon us great misfortune. Under the whole heaven there has never been done the like of what was done to Jerusalem. All that calamity, just as is written in the teaching of Moshe, came upon us. Yet we did not supplicate our Father in heaven, our Elohim, did not repent of our iniquity or become wise through your truth. Hence our Father in heaven was intent upon bringing calamity upon us, for our Father in heaven, our Elohim, is in the right in all that he has done, but we have not obeyed him. Now, O our Father in heaven, our Elohim, you brought your people out of the land of Mitzrayim with a mighty hand, winning fame for yourself to this very day. We have sinned, we have acted wickedly, O our Father in heaven, as befits your abundant benevolence. Let your wrathful fury turn back from your city, Jerusalem, your holy bound. For because of our sins and the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people have become a mockery among all who are around us. O our Elohim, hear now the prayer of your servant and his plea, and show your favor to your desolate sanctuary for our Father in heaven's sake. Incline your ear, O my Elohim, and here open your eyes and see our desolation and the city to which your name is attached. Not because of any merit of ours did we lay our plea before you, but because of your abundant mercies, O our Father in heaven. Hear, O our Father in heaven, forgive, O our Father in heaven, listen, and act without delay for your own sake. Amen. O my Elohim, for your name was attached to your city and your people. While I was speaking, praying, and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and laying my supplication before Abba, my Elohim, on behalf of the holy bound of Elohim, while I was uttering my prayer, the man, Gabriel, whom I had previously seen in the vision, was sent forth in flight and reached me about the time of the evening offering. He made me understand by speaking to me and saying, Daniel, I have just come forth to give you understanding. A word went forth as you began your plea, and I have come to tell it, for you are precious. So mark the word and understand the vision. Amen. 70 weeks have been decreed for your people in your holy city until the measure of transgression is filled, and that of sin complete, until iniquity is expiated, and eternal righteousness ushered in, and prophetic vision ratified, in the Holy of Holies anointed. You must know and understand from the issuance of the word to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the time of the anointed leader is 7 weeks, and for 62 weeks it will be rebuilt square and moat, but in a time of distress. And after those 62 weeks, the anointed one will disappear and vanish. The army of a leader who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, but its end will come through a flood. Desolation is decreed until the end of war. During 1 week he will make a firm covenant with many. For half a week he will put a stop to the sacrifice and a meal offering. At the corner of the altar will be an appalling abomination until the decreed destruction will be poured down upon the appalling things. In the third year of King Cyrus of Persia, an oracle was revealed to Daniel, who was called Belteshazzar. That oracle was true, but it was a great task to understand the prophecy. Understanding came to him through the vision. At that time, I, Daniel, kept 3 full weeks of mourning. I ate no tasty food, nor did any meat or wine enter my mouth. I did not anoint myself until the 3 weeks were over. It was on the 24th day of the first month, when I was on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, that I looked and saw a man dressed in linen, his loins girt in fine gold. His body was like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like flaming torches. His arms and legs had the color of burnished bronze, and the sound of his speech was like the noise of a multitude. Amen. I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. The men who were with me did not see the vision, yet they were seized with a great terror and fled into hiding. So I was left alone to see the great vision. I was drained of strength. My vigor was destroyed, and I could not summon upon my strength. I heard him speaking, and when I heard him speaking, overcome by a deep sleep, I lay prostrate on the ground. Then a hand touched me and shook me onto my hands and knees. He said to me, O Daniel, precious man, mark what I say to you and stand up, for I have been sent to you. After he said this to me, I stood up trembling. He then said to me, have no fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your mind to get understanding, practicing abstinence before your Elohim, your prayer was heard, and I have come because of your prayer. Amen. However, the prince of the Persian kingdom opposed me for 21 days. Now Mikael, a prince of the first rank, has come to my aid after I was detained there with the kings of Persia. So I have come to make you understand what is to befall your people in the days to come. For there is yet a vision for those days. While he was saying these things to me, I looked down and kept silent. Then one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and spoke, saying to him who stood before me, my master, because of the vision I have been seized with pangs and cannot summon strength. Who can the servant of my master speak with my How can the servant of my master speak with my master, seeing that my strength has failed and no spirit is left in me? He who looked like a man touched me again and strengthened me. He said, have no fear, precious man. All will be well with you. Be strong, be strong. As he spoke with me, I was strengthened and said, speak on, my master. For you have strengthened me. Then he said, do you know why I have come to you? Now I must go back to fight the prince of Persia. When I go off, the prince of Greece will come in. No one is helping me against them except your prince, Mikael. However, I will tell you what is recorded in the book of truth. In the book of truth, in the first year of Darius the Mede, I took my stand and strengthened and fortified him. And now I will tell you the truth. Persia will have 3 more kings, and the 4th will be wealthier than them all. By the power he obtains through his wealth, he will stir everyone up against the kingdom of Greece. Then a warrior king will appear who will have an extensive dominion and do as he pleases. But after his appearance, his kingdom will be broken up and scattered to the 4 winds of heaven, but not for any of his posterity. Nor with dominion like that which he had for his kingdom will be uprooted and belong to others besides these. The king of the south will grow powerful. However, one of his officers will overpower him and rule, having an extensive dominion. After some years, an alliance will be made, and the daughters of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to effect the agreement, but she will not maintain her strength, nor will her strength endure. She will be surrendered together with those who escorted her and the one who begot her and helped her during those times. A shoot from her stock will appear in his place, will come against the army and enter the fortress of the king of the north. He will fight and overpower them. He will also take their mighty ones with their molten images and their precious vessels of silver and gold back to Mitzrayim, Egypt, as booty. For some years he will leave the king of the north alone, who will later invade the realm of the king of the south, but will go back to his land. His sons will wage war, collecting a multitude of great armies. He will advance and sweep through as a flood, and will again wage war as far as his stronghold. Then the king of the south in a rage will go out to do battle with him. With the king of the north he will muster a great multitude, but the multitude will be delivered into his foe's power. But when the multitude is carried off, he will grow arrogant. He will cause myriads to perish, but will not prevail. Then the king of the north will again muster a multitude even greater than the first. After a time, a matter of years, he will advance with a great army and much baggage. In those times, many will resist the kings of the south, and of all the sons of your people will assert themselves to confirm the vision, but they will fail. The king of the north will advance and throw up siege ramps and capture a fortress city, and the fortress of the south will not hold out. Even the elite of his army will be powerless to resist. His opponent will do as he pleases, for none will hold out against him. He will install himself in the beautiful land with destruction within his reach. He will set his mind upon invading the strongholds throughout his foe's kingdom, but in order to destroy it, he will effect an agreement with him and give him a daughter in marriage. She will not succeed at it, and it will not come about. He will tell him he will charge the coastline to capture many, but a council will put an end to his insults. And they pay him back for his insults. He will head back to the strongholds of his own land, but will stumble and fall and vanish. His place will be taken by one who will dispatch and offer to exact tribute for royal glory, but he will be broken in a few days. Not by wrath or by war, his place will be taken by a contemptible man, on whom royal majesty was not conferred. He will come in unawares and seize the kingdom through trickery. The forces of the flood will be overwhelmed by him and will be broken. And so to the covenant leader, and from the time an alliance is made with him, he will practice deceit and he will rise to power with a small band. No, bro. No. He will invade the riches of provinces unawares and will do what his father and forefathers never did, lavishing on them spoiled treasure and wealth. He will have designs upon strongholds, but only for a time. He will muster his strength and courage against the king of the south. With a great army, the king of the south will wage war with a very great and powerful army, but will not stand fast, for they will devise plans against him. Those who eat of his food will ruin him. His army will be overwhelmed, and many will fall slain. The minds of both kings will be bent on evil. While sitting at the table together, they will lie to each other, but to no avail, for there is yet an appointed time. He will return to his land with great wealth, his mind set against the holy covenant. There you go, bro. There you go. There you go. his holy covenant. Where was I just at? Raging against the holy covenant. Having done his pleasure, he will then attend to those who forsake the holy covenant. Forces will be levied by him. They will desecrate the temple. The fortress, they will abolish the regular offering. Instead of the appalling abomination, he will flatter with smooth words those who act wickedly toward the covenant. But the people devoted to their Elohim will stand firm. The knowledgeable among the people will make the many understand. And for a while they shall fall by sword and flame, suffer captivity and spoliation. In defeat they will receive a little help, and many will join them insincerely. Some of the knowledgeable will fall, that they may be refined and purged and whitened until the time of the end. For an interval which still remains until the appointed time. The king will do as he pleases. He will exalt and magnify himself, but above every mighty one, and he will speak awful things against the Elohim of Elohims. He will prosper until wrath is spent, and what has been decreed is accomplished. He will not have regard for the God of his ancestors, or for the one dear to woman. He will not have regard for any god, but will magnify himself above all. He will honor the God of fortresses on his stand. He will honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly things, a god that his ancestors never knew. He will deal with fortified strongholds with the help of an alien god. He will heap honor on those who acknowledge him, and will make them master over many. He will distribute land for a price at the time of the end. The king of the south will lock horns with him, but the king of the north will attack him with chariots and riders. In many ships he will invade lands, sweeping through them like a flood. He will invade the beautiful land too, and many will fall, but these will escape his clutches. Edom, Moab, and the chief part of the Ammonites, he will lay his hands on lands. Not even the land of Egypt will escape. He will gain control over treasures of gold and silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and Cushites will follow at his heel. But reports from east and north will alarm him, and he will march forth in a great fury to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch his royal pavilion between the sea and the beautiful holy mountain, and he will meet his doom with no one to help him. At that time, the great prince Michael, who stands beside the sons of your people, will appear. It will be a time of trouble, the like of which has never been since the nation came into being. At that time, your people will be rescued, all who are found inscribed in the book. Many of those that sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to eternal life, others to reproaches, to everlasting abhorrence. Sadly, and the knowledgeable will be radiant like the bright expanse of sky, and those who lead the many to righteousness will be like the stars forever and ever. Amen. But you, Daniel, keep the words secret and seal the book until the time of the end. Many will range far and wide, and knowledgeable increase. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing, one on one bank of the river, the other on the other bank of the river. One said to the one clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, How long until the end of these awful things? Then I heard the man distressed in linen, who was above the water of the river, swear by the ever living one, as he lifted his right hand and his left hand to the heaven, for a times and half a time, and when the breaking of the power of the holy people comes to an end, then shall all these things be fulfilled. I heard and did not understand. So I said, My master, what will be the outcome of these things? He said, Go, Daniel, for these words are secret and sealed to the time of the end. Many will be purified and purged and refined. The wicked will act wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand, but the knowledgeable will understand. It says it right here. None of the wicked will understand, but the knowledgeable will understand. From the time the regular offering is abolished and an appalling abomination is set up, it will be 1,290 days. Happy the one who waits and reaches 1,235 days. But you go on to the end; you shall rest and arise to your destiny at the end of the days. Man.